Hello everyone, Derrick Floyd here, IK Multimedia. Welcome to IMSTA FESTA 2020 online. Now today we're going to take a deeper dive into IK Multimedia's brand new audio effects rack, MixBox. It takes 70 effects from three of our flagship products, Sample Tank, Amplitude, and T-Racks, and allows you to put them all together in a new sonic palette, creating all new sounds and all new ways of thinking. You can put them all in one rack. You get tons of analog gear like compressors, limiters, EQs, you name it, it's all there. And we add distortion and amp pedals from Amplitude. Again, all in one rack, giving you the capability to create new sonic palettes you've never even heard before. Now, engineers and producers all over the world are saying this is going to be a game changer. So here's the fun part. If you stay to the end of the segment with me, you could actually possibly win your own copy of MixBox. That's right, I'm giving away a copy of MixBox if you pay attention and answer a few questions at the end of the segment. Pretty easy? It's easy. Now, I'm super excited to let you know I've got a great special guest today. He just happens to be an engineer and producer as well at a company called Raytown Productions. And he's going to stop by and talk about how this killer product has really changed his entire engineer workflow. He's going to take us under the hood a bit and show us some tips and tricks. Are you ready to see this thing up close? I know I am. Please help me welcome my good friend, Mr. Bobby Balow. Bobby, you there, buddy?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Give me a little bit of backdrop of how long you've been an engineer-producer at Raytown.
I've been doing this for quite a while now. I think it's like coming up almost 20 years, which is pretty wild. So yeah, it started out like most engineers. You play music. I play guitar in a band. We did the touring thing. We went to school, and then we just kind of all grew apart over the years, and then the band dissolved, but I needed some way to keep being creative. And I found that, if I'm working with musicians, it kind of fulfills that creative thing that I need. And so I started Raytown Productions full-time, and then went in and, just began working with musicians all over the place. And we recently switched over to completely online. So so now we were able to work with people from all over the world, and we are exclusively doing mixing, mastering, and then some post-production work. I love mixing and mastering and just making things in general, right? So the YouTube channel started because I found that working and teaching people is extremely fulfilling. And so I've been doing this for so long that you see people, I'm part of a bunch of different groups, and people are always asking questions like, how do I mix? How do I get started? And I just found that making video content was the easiest way for me to show people how to do things. And it's, like I said, it's extremely rewarding to be able to mentor people that are trying to get started and try to be creative themselves. So the YouTube channel is focusing on mixing, mastering tips, tricks, and then just some basic education for what might be important for starting a home studio, what really isn't, which details are, overlooked, and just trying to get people to get a decent sound, or the sound they hear in their head, out of the gear that they have in their home studio.
Man, I tell you, your YouTube channel sounds like a great resource. Are you thinking of doing anything else to expand it over the next few months or years? Maybe like bring in, because you actually should start charging for some of this stuff. Your information is really good.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned this, because I'm actually currently developing some courses. So we can get into that later. And we're going to do some deep dives for people that want to get really into the weeds on certain topics. And I think people are going to be really excited when it comes out.
Now, you've been an engineer for quite a while, so you've seen technology change. In the beginning, I know it was all about hardware, having the best hardware racks and stuff like that. But now software's come in, and it's kind of like, people are saying hardware's better than software, or back and forth, or software's better than hardware. In your mind, where do you think this sits? Like, is there better or worse? Is it, you go back to the old school instead of the new school, or where do you think this sits for you as an engineer?
This is where I'm going to get in trouble, Derek. Analog is great. It has a cool thing, it has coloration. There's a certain thing when you're actually able to touch the knobs that just make creating music really fun. But honestly, with the way science is going right now with plugin development and digital signal processing, it's getting so close to the analog hardware that it's almost inconvenient. It absolutely is inconvenient to be using all this analog gear, and we're limited because just of our just because it's a physical object, right? We can't really, it's kind of a pain to rearrange the order of these different pieces of gear. I mean, sure, we have patch bays and things, but occasionally these things you can't do everything you might want to do. So I'm using less and less hardware, going almost exclusively software now, and it just makes session recall super easy. It makes collaborating with other people. So if you're writing a song with people from all over the world, saying that, especially now, since we're all like quarantined, right? It just makes transferring files and making music so much easier and faster. And like I said, the quality is getting so good. I don't really see a benefit anymore to hardware. And
Wow.
I know that, yeah, some people get pretty upset when you say things like that, make claims, but I've been doing this a long time, and I really believe that as long as you know what you're doing with the software, you can make things sound good.
Now that's really interesting you say that, and I was actually going to ask a little further the question, which was going to say, what are some of the benefits from working from hardware to software? Because I'm sure there's certain things that you can't do with hardware that you only can do with software, kind of in your creative workflow. Give me a couple of those ideas.
So it's just the flexibility of being able to route things around, right? I mean, if let's, for example, if a lot of modern songs have like over 100 different tracks, right? I don't have 100 different compressors that I can patch in. And another issue is that like, a lot of these hardware units are limited in how you can route them out. So software, the limitations I mean, there really aren't any limitations. It's in terms of being quick and creative, plugins and software is just so much better.
Now those are some good ones. I can hear that, but I was thinking even more like if you like the ability to save like presets. Like you can't really go save a preset on a hardware piece. You got to go back and like redial everything you did before you go back to reset the session. You can't just push the button on a hardware piece and everything all reset. So that's a biggie for software. Or even like automation. At the board you can automate a fader, but if you got to go back and reach back and automate a compression or something inside of a mix, on the software, you just hit the button and you're automating that compression, boom, right there. And there's so many dynamics in music now that you need to be able to automate a lot of things that happen. So software gives you that ability that hardware just doesn't do. And that's something a lot of people are probably like, no, I can't believe we're going to do software to hardware. But it does give you a lot of flexibility that hardware does not. Don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, everything you just said. And that's, the last like 10% of the mix is mostly automation. So if, like that, yeah, there's sure some people will sit there and use analog, like ride faders up. That's cool. But nowadays we can draw on lines and we can be creative and change things on the fly and do things that used to be impossible.
Yeah, and another thing I hear from a lot of engineers is that, software actually just saves time. Because, if you've got to go back and reset a whole other mix and you got to go to all these hardware pieces and reset everything up and redial it up, that's going to take you a little bit longer than just hitting reset on your DAW, digital audio workstation, and have everything recall and boom, you're ready to rock. I mean, and these days, the way people are looking at music, they want it like right now. They want to be able to get their mix right away. So you don't have enough time to be farting around with all this hardware gear. You need to turn that mix in right away because your customers are looking for it pretty quickly. So with time and being able to get things right away, I think software definitely jumps to the front of the line with that one. Don't you think?
Yeah, and especially if you have any revisions, right? It's so cumbersome, and the pace at which things are moving now, you have to be quick. And just having software be able to have recalls so quickly, presets, it allows you to hit the ground running when you want to be creative. It doesn't take you out of the moment. That's the biggest thing I think that the software has an advantage over the analog stuff is you can have everything set up, and when you have a melody, you have an idea, you can just grab a mic and go and just run with it. Then you can capture that moment. It doesn't slip away.
Yeah, now so this talk kind of brings us all back to what we're talking about today, which is IK Multimedia's MixBox. Now this thing is pretty incredible. I know you've had it for a few weeks now, and it's just a game changer. I know, and being able to have all these effects in 500 stereo styles that you can put them in racks. It's almost like having a rack inside your mixer inside your room. You can rack up to 8 effects. I know that being able to have that kind of power and control can change how you do things and change your workflow. What's your first take, since you've had it for a while? What's your first few thoughts of what MixBox has done for you?
I'm blown away. You guys have like completely sold me on this the mix box. It's awesome. It's the what I think I like the most about it is that I'm able to really quickly shoot out different things. So there's a lot of really nice presets on it. So if if I just want to see what, catches my attention for, like, let's say we want to mix a bass tone or something, you can just jump through the presets and then find something that sounds about right. And then you can go and just tweak it. It's super fast. And, I don't know what kind of black magic you guys did in the programming, but I'm super impressed with like the feel of the plugins. They really do add a lot of character, and like the fact that MixBox has like it just takes up one plugin slot, and I can put 8 pieces of gear. It's like my CPU usage is like not even it's not even used. Like I don't have to ever worry about that anymore.
I also heard that, now that MixBox has a bunch of analog gear that's modeled in there, like your Black 76, your White 2A, your Neve console or strip, all these pieces you would have to go to get hardware gear, it's all inside of MixBox. So you can be able to recall that stuff quickly and change things that you need it. How else does that help you in your mix to stay creative without having to go jump to a piece of hardware gear when it's right there in MixBox?
And it's amazing because I would never be able to hook up like all these different chains of gear, and the ability to just click and drag over and switch like the order of the processors is incredible. So like, for example, people always say, oh, do I EQ before compression or after? Do them both. You can just drag it over to the other side of your equalizer and just see if it sounds better. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's awesome.
And like we said before, MixBox comes with 70 effects from 3 of our flagship products, from Sample Tank, Amplitude, and T-Rax. So think about how cool it is to be able to take like a distortion pedal or an amp from Amplitude and then drop it in the middle of a signal path between your Black 76 or your Y2A or your Neve model, all inside one signal path, and be able to see and mix it up. I mean, it creates all new sonic patterns, as you can hear. I mean, how has that changed how you're creative in your workflow, working with all different types of sounds, like from vocals to drums to guitars, whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, especially when you're trying to do something unique. I feel like the market is really kind of saturated with certain sounds, and just having the flexibility to exactly do what you said, like I'm going to run the vocals through a distorted guitar chain, or I'm going to take the drums and put them into, like a bass cabinet. You can do that, and they all have it does all this unique like texturing to the different tracks. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
And I heard you mention earlier about CPU. So, I'm thinking people probably think, oh, this is going to be a hog. It's going to take all this processor power. But actually putting like up to 8 effects in one rack, all on one plugin, on one fader, or in one slot. You think it's going to be taxing, but it's not. Tell them how great it works for you, having all those effects, all 8 effects on one slot in one plugin.
It's just really nice to just have one going instead of like, so I could show you in a session, but I have multiple different manufacturers. So we have like Waves products and all these other companies, and I can literally just load up MixBox, and then, because a lot of the plugins I use are all modeling analog gear anyways, and I can just copy all these different plugins and have it from the same manufacturer. My sessions are super stable, and like I said, yeah, they just load up. Like I've never had an issue.
And I've been thinking about it this way. Like if you're a semi-pro or just kind of getting started with mixing and engineering, MixBox gives you over 600 presets to get you rocking. And they start with like vocals or drums or different categories. So if you don't know where to go, this kind of puts you halfway on the road. Did you see those presets, and did they work well for you?
Yeah, they're great. I mean, that's honestly when I don't know, like if I hear an idea in my head and I'm not quite sure how to get there, like presets are like the best way to do it. You just hop, like I said, you just hop through it. A lot of them are super usable. Like I can imagine like a lot of these vocal presets, you have different genres covered, and you just can just click through, and it's just so fast. It's, yeah, absolutely usable. Yeah.
And this has been great, kind of having a conversation about what it's done for you and what the product can do and all the cool features and benefits and kind of the comparison for hardware to software and how it makes a difference for you. But I think the people out there, what they really want to do is hear this thing or see it in action. So tell me you've got a few mixes to show us that can let them see kind of how you've worked it under your own workflow. You ready for me over there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a session that I recently worked on. This is like a hard rock track, and I actually pulled up MixBox and put it on a clean guitar channel. So this is something that I've never ever been happy with software, is like a clean guitar tone. And when I put MixBox on there, it was literally the exact thing I heard in my head, and it just worked immediately. So I just want to kind of show you guys what that looks like. And I'll play a little bit of the song so you get an idea. So this is a song by a band called Jade Crown, and they're going to be having a full-length album coming out soon. So huge drums, big rocking guitars, and then we have this break here in this part of the song where we have two clean guitars, and I was so frustrated because I couldn't get the tone I was looking for, and I thought I was gonna have to outsource it to have some of my buddies reamp it through like real gear, but then we just threw MixBox on it, and it sounded pretty amazing. So let me show you what it is without it. So all we did was record some guitar DIs. So it's just guitar plugged right into the interface. Okay, let me just turn off this sound effect. Here we go. Here we go. Right, boring, vanilla kind of thing, right? Definitely not gonna hold up in this mix, okay? So, no. So the awesome thing about MixBox is we just go here, click on an empty slot, go to amps, and now we have, I don't know, what is this, 10 amps we can choose from. And in my head, I thought maybe like a Fender style tone is going to work. Of course, we have that. We also have a Plexi amp, which is pretty cool. It has a little bit more grit in it. I've been a huge fan of all these amps growing up being a guitar player. And so I just wanted to see how, what it sounded like when we just throw this on. So let's take a listen to see how it's kind of transformed that DI now. I mean, it sounds just like a Fender. Like, that is like exactly what I was going for. But the cool thing is now, if we want to shoot out a different amp, we just turn this one on and just hit play, right? Maybe this one's better. Turns out I like this better. Has a little bit more grit. So, I mean, it's so nice. Or if you want to feed the Fender into the Plexi, we can do that. And this is now we're doing stuff that you could not do before unless you like physically disassembled your amps, right? So I don't. Let's just see how it sounds like. I mean, so we can tweak all this stuff and just keep playing with it. And so I'm a fan of also compressing afterwards, after you feed your guitar tone. And I like optical compressors rather. And so we just add a compressor to the end. And now we have a nice, sustained, full, clean guitar tone. And if we want to see what it sounds like before, like let's say we want to compress the DI itself to maybe bring out a little bit of attack, you just drag it over and you're ready to go. And that sounds actually like that better than where I had it before. But it's this kind of flexibility that allows you to be super creative and make new sounds that people haven't heard before. And so if we go and throw this, I did the same thing over for this other clean guitar, and you throw this back in the mix, I mean, it just transformed the entire track for us. So, I mean, I could not get yeah, I could not get this style of tone no matter what I tried with these other plugins I had. And it's just so nice to have these options, you know?
That's awesome. Show me another track if you have one, and maybe a different style.
Yeah, I'd love to show you. MixBox is amazing on vocals too. So let me load up another session for you. So this is a song by a band that I was mixing called Heist at 5, and they have a pretty talented vocalist, man. He's a pretty amazing dude. But here you can see, I have a whole bunch of plugins that I've replaced with just MixBox because that's all you need. So I'm gonna go through all this because this is pretty amazing. And I love this little button too, by the way, just to kind of keep things nice and tidy so you don't have a giant 8-rack thing that's taking up all your screen. So
And don't you have a mixer in MixBox as well? So even though you see the plugins, you can switch to another screen and blend in how much you want of each effect,
absolutely, right? Yeah, that's right here. So so it's there. Yeah, the routing on this plugin is amazing. Yeah, you can dial in. They have sidechain capabilities so that you can do a lot of cool advanced sidechaining techniques. Yeah, it's very well thought out. Yeah, there's a reason why not a lot of people have this kind of drag and drop functionality. It's because it's not easy to do in the programming. And I'm so glad you guys did that because that makes this tool super useful. Yeah. All right, so let me show you how boring the vocal is without this plugin chain on it.
Guy is caving, weighing down the skinny legs, and I'm slowly getting close to the edge. It's all shattered.
So if we just solo the vocal, nice and super dry. We'll go to the verse here.
And I feel it again and again. That sweet, sweet taste of pain.
All right, so let's bring this to life using these plugins. First thing I love to do on vocals is let's get a nice in-your-face compressed sound. And I always tend to gravitate towards the 1176 style compressor, so the Black 76. Let me load that up. Got to disable all these plugins. You guys have too many options. Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I've always wanted to add one more plugin and I wasn't able to, but now we're good. That's right. All right, so check this out. We're going to dial this in. 4:1 is my go-to vocal ratio. A little bit slower tack to let the aggression or like the brightness pop through a little bit, and then super fast release here. And check out how the vocals just come to life.
And I feel it again and again. That sweet, sweet taste of pain. But this time it's closing in fast. So this may be my last.
Awesome. So we have this nice in-your-face vocal. Now it's especially for like pop music and music that's more modern sounding, there's a specific sound where you add in a bunch of like air. And to do that, I'm using the British EQ. So again, like you just go here. You don't want to use the British EQ. It's cool. You have like 3 other options to pick from. I'm just familiar with this specific unit. So we're just going to boost up 7K. And then we're going to pull back some of the muddiness out of the vocal. Okay, so check this out.
Now we're fighting for.
Go back. Turn this on.
And I feel it again and again.
Without it.
Sweet, sweet taste of pain.
Just muddy garbage, right? Put it back in.
But this time it's closing in fast. So this may be my last.
It's that modern pop vocal sound. You got to really, suck out any of the little mud and then really emphasize that air region in the voice. And sometimes it can get a little sibilant, but you guys have a de-esser for that. So we can suck out anything that gets a little too harsh by using just a de-esser. So it's under Dynamics, de-esser. Boom. Turn that on.
I feel it again and again. That sweet, sweet taste of pain.
So right there, that's taking care of those S's and sweet, sweet. So it's a lot more pleasing on the ear, okay? And now we basically have molded the vocal where we want it. I always like to put a limiter because it sounds a little bit more transparent, and it just clamps down on any time the vocals will jump out a little bit too much out of the mix. So let's just turn on the limiter.
But this time it's closing in fast.
And the drive feature is kind of cool too, because that gives us a little bit more flavor too. So it thickens up that vocal.
So this may be my last.
Now you're gonna save this preset for me, right? So I can use it on my vocal?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll make this available to anybody. Absolutely.
There you go.
I can definitely get you the preset. Definitely. So then now we want to give it a little bit of space. So we have the vocals, they're full, they're balanced, they have like nice harmonics because of all this analog simulation that you guys have, the black magic that goes into these plugins. And I always like to have two kinds of reverb on my vocal. Luckily, I don't have to worry about that because you guys have a whole bunch of different reverbs. So I always put a plate reverb. It just is reminiscent of all the music I've always listened to growing up. And then I like to add a little bit of hall reverb just for length. So let's bring in that plate reverb and see what that does.
I'm the start.
Let's
torn apart.
find a spot where here we go. Let's go right here.
I feel it again.
Okay, so let's activate the plate reverb.
That sweet, sweet taste of pain.
You can hear, let's go a little crazy with it. Listen to how smooth it is.
It's closing in fast. So this may be my last.
Like it has this like really beautiful decay to it. So we just tuck this. So we just tuck this down a little bit.
So this may be my last.
Just right there. Perfect. And then so that's giving the vocals a sense of space. And then I like to put the hall reverb on because it gives it a sense of length then. And it kind of helps to glue the vocals to the rest of the instrumentation in the track. Right? This is kind of a slower song. We want to add a little bit of glue to everything. And this hall reverb sounds awesome.
Now we're fighting for our lives just to get our balance back. How we see the world.
Right? I mean, it's just, it's long, it's lush, it just feels right, especially for this track. And you have all these different types, like this. You guys literally covered everything.
The sky is caving and it's weighing down the skin and legs were slow. Sweet, sweet taste of pain.
Well, man, I am so glad you took a few minutes just to walk through your process and show us how MixBox became a vital tool to what you do now, how you shape it and how you create. For us, we want to try to show people that are using them in a real world setting, in a real world professional move. So it's good that we can talk to someone who does this on a daily basis and say, this is a tool that you definitely could use, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be living on anytime I work on guitars, vocals. I mean, the effects themselves are amazing. And yeah, I'm going to be using a lot of this now that you guys have come up with like the best miniaturized plugin of all time. Like it's it's amazing.
Tell me a little bit about how they can get a hold of you, because they're obviously doing some great mixes, and if they want to get a mix through MixBox, Raytown Productions, tell them a bit how to get a hold of you.
Absolutely. So if you like what you heard here, I specialize in beat-driven music, and you can just reach out to me. I have a website. It's raytownproductions.com. There's a contact box there. Like I said, we're completely online, so I do mixing, mastering, a lot of post-production. A lot of my clients are vocalists, and they need some vocal editing done. I do a lot of that. I work with a lot of pop artists, and it's pretty simple to work with me. So just send me a message, and we can talk about your music, discuss what your needs are, and make sure it's a really good fit.
Man, thanks, Bobby, for stopping by and showing us why MixBox has become your go-to tool. I was super impressed myself by the flexibility and kind of the overall workflow that sets up in the rack. It seems like a no-brainer. And I know you guys are enjoying it too, so I bet you're just chomping at the bit right now, because now you're thinking, it's time for the free stuff, right? Well, of course it is. We all want to get a copy of this thing. So here's what we're going to do. All you got to do right now, if you were paying attention, Bobby mentioned a couple of different pieces that he used quite a bit as far as what he was using in his mixes. You can give me 3 500 series products that he used in his mix, throw it in the chat real fast. one of our moderators will catch who it is, and you're going to get a free copy of MixBox. That's it. Super easy. Give me 3 pieces that he used out of MixBox, and you could be the one that can walk away today a little bit happier with MixBox in your pocket. Thanks again for joining us here at IMSTA FESTA Online 2020, and we hope to see you again at an IK Multimedia Deeper Dive. Take care now. Have a great one.